Is Stephanie White to blame for Caitlin Clark not being on his Team USA poster that has the internet erupted right now? I mean, people mad, about ready to fight over this Team USA situation. Now, I know it's been countless of videos coming out telling y'all that Caitlin Clark ain't on his team. Hell, my thumbnail even say Caitlin Clark ain't on his team. But here's the real reason. Here's the reality of the situation.
The entire internet is absolutely erupting right now, and almost everybody has the story completely wrong. You have seen the viral videos, you have read the furious tweets. People are genuinely ready to fight in the streets because USA Basketball just dropped a massive promotional poster, and Caitlin Clark's face is nowhere to be found. The accusations are flying wildly in every direction. Fans are blaming political bias, they are blaming the veterans, and they are blaming head coach Stephanie White. The internet has officially decided that the reigning WNBA MVP has been maliciously snubbed from Team USA. But hold on, stop scrolling, and watch the actual energy of the people who know what is going on behind closed doors. Because while social media spent the last 24 hours having a collective meltdown over a graphic designer's poster, they completely missed the fine print. And that fine print changes absolutely everything about this narrative.
Now, this came out yesterday. See you very soon, Phoenix. The USA women's basketball team will hold training camp this week in Arizona. Training camp from the 1st to the 3rd. Now, didn't they have a training camp before for Team USA? I believe they did.
The massive detail that everyone conveniently ignored in their rush to be outraged is the actual title of the event. The poster that dropped yesterday was not the official Paris Olympics roster announcement. It was an invitation list for a training camp. And in the world of elite international basketball, there is a massive, fundamental difference between those two things. The announcement clearly states that USA Basketball is holding a training camp from April 1st through the 3rd in Phoenix, Arizona. This is not the final team selection. This is an evaluation period. When you are already locked onto the team, you do not go to a training camp. When you are the reigning WNBA MVP, who just spent an entire season shattering literally every professional basketball record imaginable, you do not need to pack your bags and fly to the desert to prove yourself to a committee again. The players who are currently showing up in Phoenix are the ones who are still desperately competing for the final spots on the bench. They are the ones who need to demonstrate their value one last time.
Caitlin Clark ain't on this poster because Caitlin Clark do not have to try out for a team, her or Angel Reese. But guess who does? Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers, and guess who else? Stephanie White. Now, we know Stephanie White was an assistant coach last time. Now, most of these coaches that done this before did not have to go back. Why did Stephanie White have to go back?
But here is where the timeline completely destroys the snub narrative. USA Basketball already held a highly intense preliminary training camp back on March 5th in North Carolina. Caitlin Clark absolutely attended that one. She was in the gym, running the drills, and competing against the best in the world. That March camp was the qualifying round, the initial tryout phase where the committee evaluated raw talent and made their heavy preliminary decisions. So notice exactly who is not on this new April roster. Caitlin Clark isn't there, and neither is Angel Reese. And that is not a disrespectful snub by the committee. That is a silent confirmation of their greatness. Caitlin Clark isn't on this poster because Caitlin Clark does not have to try out for a team she has already made. Her spot is completely secure. She did her job in March. She sealed the deal with her historic MVP season, and everyone in that building already knows exactly what she brings to the table.
Coach Stephanie White will be a court coach at the USA Basketball Women's National Team training camp in April, right? When will she start prepping for the season? Her hopping, here hoping she learns something. With the chaotic start to the season and drafts, new players, etc., her priority is that. The most chaotic free agency in league history, but she is ever going to be in Indy to know. Focus on her own damn team, bro. Tired as hell of this woman.
Now, compare her situation to Paige Buecher's, who is actively attending this Phoenix camp. Unlike the manufactured outrage surrounding Clark, Buecher's being there makes absolute perfect sense. Paige is an incredible generational college talent, but she is also coming off a brutal history of devastating injuries. She simply hasn't had the opportunity to build the same bulletproof professional resume that Clark just established in the WNBA. Paige is currently sitting firmly on the bubble. She legitimately needs to show the USA basketball evaluators that she is fully healthy, that her game translates to the physical international level, and that she absolutely deserves one of those highly coveted final roster spots. That is exactly what a training camp is designed for. It is for the players who are talented enough to be in the conversation, but who haven't quite sealed the deal yet.
He only won 7 damn games. 7. Now, this is the video that came out yesterday of some of the players arriving for USA.
You know why I'm here. Thank you.
So, as you guys can see, just like I stated, I think it's not a good reason that Paige is there. But let's head on over to Correlation X account because she kind of explained it too.
But while the internet was busy crying over a fake snub, they completely missed the most bizarre, genuinely concerning part of this entire Phoenix gathering. Because there is one specific person who is definitely attending this camp, who has absolutely no business being there, and her presence raises some massive red flags. Stephanie White, the brand new head coach of the Indiana Fever, is listed as a court coach for this April evaluation camp. Let's break down exactly why this is a terrible look. Stephanie White previously served as an assistant coach for Team USA. She has already been through this grueling international process. Most coaches who have successfully done this job before do not have to come back for additional mid-season evaluations. They have already proven themselves to the committee. They are either selected for the next Olympic cycle or they are not. Yet here is Stephanie White flying back to camp like a rookie trying to make the squad.
Made the team. That is what Correlation said. Let's read some of Correlation comments here. She successfully reminded everyone that she is, in fact, the best. See, when you the best, you ain't got to go to training camp. When you the GOAT, you ain't got to go to none of this shit. She's the best. There's nothing to talk about here. Yes, I feel that it is almost certainly true. At the same time, I think Paige has as well, and she's going. No, Paige is going. Hold on, let me see. Pick me. We was already going to be in town for the Final Four.
And she is doing this during the absolute most critical juncture of the WNBA offseason, when she should be entirely focused on preparing the Indiana Fever for what is shaping up to be the most chaotic season in franchise history. The Fever just navigated the most turbulent free agency period the league has ever seen. They have brand new players to integrate into a complex system. They have fragile locker room chemistry to build from scratch. They have a roster full of young talent that desperately needs hands-on coaching attention and intense strategic planning. And instead of being locked in a war room in Indianapolis, doing the job she was hired to do, the head coach of the Indiana Fever is standing on a practice court in Phoenix, Arizona. Fans are absolutely furious, and honestly, that sentiment is entirely justified. You are the head coach of a professional franchise. Focus on your own damn team. The only logical reason Stephanie White is at this camp is because USA Basketball actively requested to take another look at her coaching abilities before making their final staff decisions. And if the National Committee is demanding a second look, it means one brutal thing: they are not convinced she is good enough. And when you actually look at her coaching track record, those deep doubts from USA Basketball are completely justified. Before her WNBA stint, White spent years coaching college basketball at Vanderbilt, and the results were mediocre at absolute best. Her Vanderbilt coaching record tells you everything you need to know. In one particularly disastrous season, she won just 7 games. 7. In a major collegiate conference. That is not a rebuilding year. That is a program in total, systemic collapse. Yes, her WNBA record is significantly better, having won a championship with the Fever back in 2016. But that was 8 long years ago, with a completely different, heavily established veteran roster anchored by legends like Tamika Catchings. The question USA Basketball is clearly asking right now is whether Stephanie White can actually coach a modern system at the elite international level against the absolute best teams in the world. And based on the fact that they are making her audition in Phoenix, they are highly skeptical. But this creates an incredibly terrible optic for both Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever organization. For White, it heavily suggests that she is far more interested in padding her own personal international coaching resume than she is in doing the brutal, unglamorous daily work required to make the Fever a competitive championship contender. It suggests her priorities are completely misplaced. Her absolute #1 priority should be the young, developing team that is actually paying her massive salary, not the USA Basketball Committee. The stark contrast between the head coach and her superstar point guard couldn't possibly be any more glaring. Caitlin Clark quietly did her job. She showed up to the mandatory March training camp, proved her undeniable value to the committee, and firmly earned her Olympic roster spot. Now she is back home, resting and heavily focusing on her upcoming WNBA career, because that is exactly where her attention belongs. She is not in Phoenix, because she already accomplished what she needed to accomplish. Stephanie White, apparently, has not. And that raises terrifying questions about her immediate future with the Indiana Fever. Because if USA Basketball ultimately decides she is simply not good enough to be an assistant on their staff, how does that reflect on her ability to act as the ultimate head coach at the highest levels of women's professional basketball? And conversely, if she is good enough, but actively chose to prioritize an optional national team tryout over preparing her own WNBA franchise for a massive season, what does that say about her actual commitment to Indiana? Either way you look at it, Fever fans have legitimate, massive reasons to be deeply concerned right now. Their franchise player is about to enter her highly anticipated second WNBA season, carrying the weight of massive global expectations and intense, suffocating media scrutiny. Caitlin Clark desperately needs a head coach who is completely 100% locked in on helping her succeed and building an elite system around her. Instead, she has a coach who is currently hanging out in Arizona, trying to impress international evaluators to secure a side gig. That is not a recipe for sustained professional success. That is a recipe for complete locker room dysfunction. And the Indiana Fever simply cannot afford dysfunction right now. Not with the highly talented roster they have assembled, and certainly not with the immense pressure they are facing to maximize Caitlin Clark's prime years. So, while the entire internet was busy being misinformed and outraged about a promotional poster, they completely missed the actual story unfolding in the desert. Caitlin Clark is perfectly fine. She is already on the team. All of this manufactured outrage will look completely ridiculous when the final Olympic roster is officially announced. The person who should actually be deeply worried right now is Stephanie White. Her necessary presence at this evaluation camp reveals exactly how the elite basketball minds currently view her coaching credentials. They are simply not convinced. And if the greatest basketball minds in the country aren't convinced, maybe the Indiana Fever shouldn't be either. The WNBA is unforgiving. And the Fever need a coach whose credentials are unquestionable. Someone who doesn't need to skip town to prove their worth. So I am turning the question over to you. Do you think Stephanie White is abandoning her responsibilities to the Fever? Or is she just securing her bag with USA Basketball? Drop your most honest takes down in the comments below. And make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay updated on the real stories behind the WNBA drama.